What's going on, guys? Black Scout Survival Late Night Live. Let's start off by taking a look at the justice system. Just a friendly reminder how it's working out here. So, you guys remember the cowardly cop Scott Peterson who hid during the 2018 Parkland school shooting? He was found not guilty of negligence. Okay, neglect and negligence. He was terrified, ran away, could have stopped kids from being killed, but he didn't. It says a former Florida cop hid during the deadly 2018 mass shooting at the high school in Parkland, Florida, and was found not guilty on all 11 counts. Yep. Sometimes it pays off to be a coward, I guess, in a leftist run country. Um, another instance. Let's take a look at this. Man flashes his penis to kids in the park. He gets 26 weeks in prison. 26 weeks in prison. Man attacks the man flashing the kids in the park, and he gets 27 months in prison. Well, still, a lot of people be like, "Well, I shouldn't do anything." No. Still, no, I can't have that. You just got to take the risk of the punishment. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's play another one real quick. IRS whistleblower says there were certain investigative steps we weren't allowed to take that could have led to President Biden. Check him out.
Who is still working for the IRS, told us that even before President Biden took office, he was directed to avoid leads involving Hunter's father.
There were certain investigative steps we weren't allowed to take that could have led us to President Biden.
And you wanted to take them?
We needed to take them.
And you weren't allowed to take them?
That's correct.
So the whistleblowers, we talked about this in depth the other day. Basically, some online foreign adult porn ring, or not adult, sorry, I say adult. I don't think adults were in it, but anyway, connected Hunter Biden a few years ago. So then they started digging into Hunter Biden, and then wound up leading to Joe Biden, but they got stopped by the FBI. And we've heard a lot of testimony that there's people, and we see it. I mean, they're not even keeping it a secret anymore, that the FBI is the Gestapo for the Biden crime family. And truthfully, Joe Biden is, the stuff he's involved with is probably the most craziest in U.S. history that any president's been involved in. The amount of just corruption, and that's a lot to say when you got the Clintons, right? The amount of corruption this dude is involved in, but they keep turning a blind eye, covering up, blockading things. But you see, just this is a snapshot of the justice system. Now let's look at one of the biggest things, should be the biggest story in the freaking world. Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. The Justice Department actually just released a report detailing the events that unfolded at the Manhattan jail where Epstein died. Okay. The 128-page report details significant failures, they say, that the Justice Department claims that gave Epstein enough time to commit suicide in his cell. These failures included jail staff not conducting mandatory checks on Epstein, providing extra bed linens to Epstein, and a loss of the security camera systems, and much more, right? So I've got some of the slides here from the investigation, some of the big ones. We're going to go through some of those. That way you can see it for yourself. You take a snapshot, screenshot with your phone, or whatever you want to do. But let's go ahead and pop through these guys real quick. So if you look here, breaks down the timeline, and it says MCC New York staff conducts a routine intake screening, make sure he denies any history of mental health problems, right? Record. Sorry, this is number 2. Let me get number 1 up. That's not the right one. Dang. I guess I don't have number 1. Let me pull number 1 up real quick. You're going to see a lot of the same thing here. So, okay, here we go. Starting off, July 6th, Epstein is arrested at an airport in New Jersey and transported to the Metropolitan Correctional Center. The MCC will call it from now on. MCC New York Facilities assistant asked the psychology department to evaluate Epstein because he appears distraught and a little confused. He's assigned to the special housing unit, but because he has obviously significant notoriety, he's well known. Everybody knows about this case. Okay. And so then they conduct a routine intake screening of Epstein. The records indicate that Epstein denies any mental health problems, and they check him obviously for suicide. Records show that Epstein denies any suicidal thoughts, but was placed in psychological observation due to the presence of risk factors, being a high-profile case, nature of charges, pretrial status, and ongoing proceedings. On July 10th, the psychology department removes Epstein from psychological observation and returns him to the SHU with the recommendation that he has a cellmate. Epstein is housed with another inmate, right? This is inmate 1. So the next day, July 11th, he meets with a New York psychologist, Epstein briefly, and recommends follow-up visit for the next week. And then so on July 16th, at Epstein's request, an MCC New York psychologist meets with him during a legal visit. On July 18th, the psychology department conducts a 30-day psychology review for the entire SHU population. Epstein is not in the SHU at the time, and therefore his review is not conducted. Okay. And you're going to notice they're setting up a lot of this stuff here. Geez, I don't got number 3 too. I don't know what's going on my computer here. Let me pull it up. So pull up number 3 here. On July 22nd, according to court records, Epstein files an appeal of court's orders denying Epstein's pretrial release. He's trying to get out. Obviously, he's a flight risk. He's a freaking billionaire. He could disappear, right? So then on the 23rd at 1:27 a.m., the staff hears noises coming from Epstein's cell. Epstein's cellmate says that Epstein has attempted to hang himself. SHU staff observes Epstein lying on the floor with a piece of orange cloth around his neck. Epstein initially tells the staff there that his cellmate tried to kill him. Epstein's cellmate tells MCC that he was asleep. He felt something hit his legs, and he turns around and sees Epstein hanging from a string around his neck. Epstein's then placed on suicide watch in a cell near the psychology department. Later that morning, health services unit personnel conduct a medical assessment and observe that Epstein has a red mark 2/3 the way around the front of his neck. They assess Epstein for a risk of suicide and determine that he should remain on suicide watch. All right, so the 24th, following day at 8:45 a.m., Epstein is removed from suicide watch but remains under psychological observation in the same cell near the psychology department. Medical staff examine him at 1:08 p.m., and the staff complete a post-suicide watch report. In contrast to the prior statement of his cellmate tried to kill him, Epstein says he did not remember how he sustained the injuries to the neck. So the next few days, Epstein is seen by the psychology department daily on each date and adamantly denies suicide or having a memory of what occurred on July 23rd. On the 29th, right, so 5 days from then, psychology department staff determines that Epstein can be released from psychological observation and transferred back to SHU. So just out of the gate, right? Out of the gate, he's seen by doctors and he's being released. He's adamant he's not suicidal. He says the guy tried to kill him, right? Do you think Epstein in his position wouldn't just come out and say he tried to commit suicide? He wouldn't blame it on another guy. I don't know. That's odd to me. And then not having memory. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. So now we have disk failures occur in the DVR2 at the MCC New York security camera system, which results in the system being unable to record. Although the cameras continue to work and broadcast live video feed. The personnel there do not learn of DVR2 recording failure until August 8th. This is the freaking 29th, guys. 2 days before Epstein's death. Roughly half of the MCC New York security cameras, including those located in SHU, are assigned to record to the DVR2 system. So on the 30th, Epstein is transferred back to SHU. The staff psychologist sends an email over to the staff stating that Epstein needs to be housed with an appropriate cellmate. Epstein and his new cellmate, this is cellmate 3, are placed in a cell with SHU that can accommodate the electrical needs of Epstein's medical device. So they conduct a disciplinary proceeding against Epstein for alleged self-mutilation. Ultimately concludes that there's insufficient evidence to find that Epstein engaged in a prohibited act. He says he does not remember how he sustained the marks around his neck, right? Again. So New York personnel attempt to obtain an estimate from Company 1 to run the wiring and conduit for the new camera system, which would eliminate the new technicians to perform that work. On the 31st, upon his return to the MCC, the U.S. Marshal Service provide paperwork to Bob that indicates Epstein had suicidal tendencies. That's very unique. The U.S. Marshals come and says that he has suicidal tendencies. Like, we have to paint the narrative that he's suicidal. Now, the doctors aren't saying that he's suicidal. They're going to keep releasing him back and just say, get him a cellmate. But the U.S. Marshals comes up and says, oh, he's suicidal, right? So, again, Epstein denies any suicidal ideation. The New York receiving and discharge staff notify the psychology department of the notation of the suicidal tendencies of U.S. Marshal Service paperwork relating to Epstein. The psych department conducts a suicide risk assessment of Epstein, who denies that he is suicidal and determines a suicide watch is not warranted. Okay. Psych staff recommend a follow-up in 1 week. On the 2nd, Special Investigative Services complete its investigation into the incident on the July 23rd and find there is no sufficient evidence to determine that Epstein harmed himself or he was harmed by his cellmate. So maybe he was harmed by someone, but he didn't know who it was, right? Epstein is seen by the psych department again to deny suicidal thoughts or plans. Epstein meets with his attorneys and personnel changes his last will. This unbeknownst to the personnel there, that he changes his last will and testament during the meeting. I mean, he's already had someone try to kill him, I guess. So I guess, you should get your paperwork in order. New York staff receive notice that Epstein's cellmate will be transferred out of the institution the following day on August 9th, right? So they get notified that he's losing his cellmate on this day. Now, he's been instructed to have a cellmate every day. Like, there's just too many coincidences here, guys. Like, there's just too many coincidences for this. It's too perfect of a scenario, right? So the New York staff discovers the disk failures that occurred in DVR2 on July 29th and resulted in approximately 1.5 of the institution's security cameras not recording, although the cameras continue to broadcast the live video feed. New York staff do not perform the work necessary to restore recording functionality of the DVR2 system and address long-standing performance failures with the camera system. Okay, so the night at 8:30 a.m., Epstein's cellmate is transferred out of the cell, right? So SHU staff members said they notified supervisors that Epstein's cellmate's transfer and would need a new cellmate. Other witnesses did not corroborate these statements, right? So this is where the lies start coming in. The other witnesses said they don't corroborate these statements, that they didn't try to give him another cellmate. Epstein is not assigned a new cellmate as required by the psych department. So we're breaking protocol of a very high-profile individual who wound up, nobody knows how, but he'd been strangled, right? Nobody knows how. He's very high profile. The cameras we know they're not working. And now we're going to leave him alone, even though the psych department said he needs to have someone with him. The psych department also had cleared him multiple times from suicide watch. So New York staff obtained the replacement hard drives to repair the camera system, but they don't complete the repairs, right? So they don't repeat them. They have all the stuff to fix it. They don't, And so At approximately 6:45, Epstein leaves the attorney conference room. At 7 p.m., contrary to the BOP policy, but with the permission of a unit manager, Epstein is permitted to place an unmonitored telephone call to a number with a New York City area code to speak with his mother, he says. In actuality, Epstein calls someone that he apparently has a relationship with. After the call, Epstein is returned to the cell where he remains without a cellmate. Now, so this is 7 p.m. The phone call was to Belarus. So some unknown phone call to Belarus, and he lied and said it was going to be to his mother, who's already dead. She's dead. And now he's making a phone call to Belarus. Maybe they're going to blame the Wagner coup on him. I don't know. So anyway, they'll probably blame it on Trump, though, let's just say. Anyway, so this is where it gets crazy, right? So the staff members don't conduct the 4 p.m. or 10 p.m. inmate counts on such a high-profile individual who said needs to have a cellmate, who's already tried to kill himself, or someone tried to kill him. And this is supposed to be done every 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes. So all this time, nothing happens. So then the staff members do not conduct from 12 a.m., 3 a.m., or 5 a.m. inmate counts. Or no, those are inmate counts, or any of the 30-minute rounds. So they don't do any inmate counts where they go count each one, nor any 30-minute rounds from midnight till 6:30 a.m. At 6:30 a.m., they started delivering breakfast to the inmate through the food slots, and they try to give Epstein his. They unlocked the door, and they found Epstein when they unlocked, and he had a piece of orange cloth around his neck, hanging in his cell, and the other portion of it tied to his bunk bed, and he was like in a sitting position, right? I think that'd be very, just in my opinion, and I know people have probably done it, but it'd be very hard to just let yourself hang in that position. I don't know. I think your body would very difficult for that to happen. So let me back up. No inmate counts. And anybody who's been incarcerated before, let us know how serious this is, because I think it is. Like, at least the TV shows I've watched in the past. Inmate counts, right? And then no 30-minute rounds. Like, so they didn't do anything all night, these guys, right? So New York staff in the control center call for 911. They lay Epstein on the ground, give him CPR. The health service arrive with an ambulance. They take him to the Lower Manhattan Presbyterian Hospital, and he's pronounced dead at 7:36 a.m. The staff unsuccessfully attempt to recover the video from the DVR2 system, and they begin repairing the DVR2 system. The FBI seizes all hard drives contained on that system as evidence. On the 11th, they conduct an autopsy of Epstein. 14th to the 15th of August, the FBI returns, seizes additional components of the DVR2 system and the entire DVR1 system. The digital forensics analysts in Quantico, Virginia, begins to conduct a forensic analysis of the DVR systems and determined there was catastrophic disk failures in number 2. The disks were awry and no recordings were available after July 29th. So then they release a statement on the 16th saying that it was by suicide. All right. Now, I want you to see the close proximity of his. So this is the officer station, right? So the view, I mean, he's looking right at the freaking Epstein cell. I mean, he's looking right at it. Like, his desk is right at it. Like, you'd know something, you'd hear something, right? And so this is the exterior view of Epstein's cell here. Now, so the coverage from the left. Let me throw this up. This is from All Points News. And it says the U.S. Justice Department watchdog said on Tuesday a combination of negligence and misconduct enabled the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein to take his own life at a federal jail in New York City while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. The Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz cited that the Federal Bureau of Prisons' failure to assign Epstein a cellmate after his previous one left and problems with the surveillance cameras as factors in Epstein's death. Like this out of the gate, like this sounds like some cover-up talk here. Let's blame. So that's what you do, right? That's just a common tactic. Trying to cover something up, you blame shift. You get what I'm saying? You blame shift. And this is the thing. I mean, when you say that Epstein didn't kill himself, people say this stuff is a joke and this and that, and people call you a conspiracy theorist for even hinting at this. You have one of the most high-profile individuals connected to the most high-profile people in the world with one of the biggest sex trafficking scandals in history, and no one's checking on this guy. There's no video. I mean, that's just really dumb. And then officers are falsifying records, right? So let's talk about the key components of the report. Let's just a snapshot, especially for those that just came in. Records show Epstein denied suicide multiple times. He was even released from the psych department saying that he had no suicidal tendencies. These are trained doctors that know how to get in your head, right? Guards heard noises on the 23rd. Epstein said that the cellmate tried to kill him, right? On the 23rd, the following instance, he was seen by the psych department. He adamantly denies suicide, and he doesn't have memory of what occurred. He was released from psychological observation and transferred back to the special housing unit a couple days later, right? So he was fine. On the 29th, the day he went back, catastrophic disc failures occur. The day he went back from the psych department back to the special housing unit, disc failures happen, rendering them unable to record. And they were aware of this issue, right? 2 days before Epstein's death. They had the equipment to fix it and didn't. Then the U.S. Marshals out of nowhere who transported Epstein said, oh, he has suicidal tendencies. Like, let's just go ahead and put that out. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. So, oh yeah, he had suicidal. Yeah, he committed suicide. He had suicidal tendencies, right? The day of his death, he had an unmonitored phone call to Belarus. The jail don't have any recording of that call because the guards allowed Epstein to use the phone line designated for legal counsel, which doesn't allow calls to be recorded. Fishy, huh? Guards working in Epstein's unit admitted to falsifying records. Too many, right? Like they come out of the gate trying to sound, make it, trying to cover up something. That's what it sounds like to me. Like that's how this whole thing is. This whole report. Oh, we got to squash this now. So now, if you say Epstein didn't kill himself, we reported it. Yeah, a lot of failures. It's their fault. Why aren't those guards in prison? Right? Why aren't they in prison? See, guys, we made all the mistakes. He offed himself. Nothing to see here. Right? And the reason why is, we're going to get the reason why that is. The guy was adamant he wasn't suicidal. Okay? He had more money than damn near anybody. And he had connections to some of the most powerful people and had dirt on some of the most powerful people in the world. Ask OJ. You can get, with enough money, you can get away with anything. OJ Simpson knows, right? Such a high-profile person you're not going to check on? And then you're not going to make sure the cameras are working. He already told you that someone tried to kill him, and he doesn't remember. And he's losing his memory. He's losing his memory. There are drugs that can do that. Okay, there are drugs that you can give people for that to happen to. Okay, and again, the private phone call to Belarus, fishy, very fishy. Keeping him alive would have been great to actually bring justice, right? Think if Jeffrey Epstein was still alive and he's able to testify in court and say, "Yep, Bill Clinton was there. He was having sex with children. Prince Andrew, Jimmy Kimmel, whoever, right?" And no one other than Ghislaine Maxwell has been brought to justice. Brought to justice. There's no client list. There's nobody, right? There's nobody. But we got these folks who Clinton, right? Clinton on an airplane with Ghislaine Maxwell there. I mean, chums, right? I mean, this dude has so many people that's died connected to him. Him and Hillary is unreal. Like, these guys were pals. But guess who else? Look at this guy. Couple buds, they're hanging out. The thing is, someone said, I just saw somebody say that the life he knew he had was over. People with money can get out of it, especially if you have dirt on people. Cutting deals and these sort of things. There's people that cut massive deals that should go away the rest of their life. They cut a deal to get bigger fish, and they walk free all the time, right? I mean, look at Hunter Biden. He should be in jail. Okay, but anyway, that's the thing. Like, you can get away with anything, right? If you have enough money, Hunter should be in jail. Joe Biden should be in jail. Okay, but you would think it would be the number one thing they would be seeking out. They would be, who are these powerful pedophiles? Who's on the client list? We need to prosecute them. You hadn't heard a peep. They hadn't even tried. Not a peep. Nobody's been brought. Ghislaine Maxwell, I said it's over. Now we release a report. Hey, don't ask any more questions. Epstein killed himself, dude. It was our fault. We let him do it. Yeah, right. They're more worried about Trump and some papers than the pedophiles, right? The big dogs. He would have brought down a ton of elites, presidents, politicians, athletes. Look, in 2016, one of the victims stated that Ghislaine Maxwell specifically instructed her to serve former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, Britain's Prince Andrew, wealthy financier Glenn Dubin, former Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell, modeling scout John Luke Brunel, a scientist named Marvin Minsky. She also said that Maxwell and Epstein directed her to have sex with another prince and another foreign president and a well-known prime minister and the owner of a large hotel chain. None of the men named have been charged with a crime, and all have denied inappropriate behavior. Who would have gained the most by Epstein dying? Not Epstein. Think if I was going down. Think if I was going down. Me and a bunch of guys did a bunch of dirty stuff. I'm going uptown. Right? No, everybody's going with me. Right? You know what I'm saying? Epstein would want to take everybody with him. To look like such, to leave Earth being the biggest scumbag on the planet, and you're the only one. No, it wasn't just me. It was Bill Clinton. It was Bill Gates. Right? Now, Bill Clinton and Bill Gates is coming too. You know what I mean? So this is the island here in the Virgin Islands. Y'all ever see this weird thing here, though? This temple. It's a weird deal. I've heard so much weird stuff with this place, right? I don't know how much is true, how much is not. I think they're selling it for $125 million. Who could live here is beyond me. Like Like, I'd be very suspect to know who bought this joint right here. But that temple right there, man, there's like a weird owl up on top of it. I think you can't see it because of the tree. But yeah, that's a temple on the farthest most point of the island there. I think there's a lot of dirt to it, man. Mike, you, thanks. Kathy Urban, thank you. Push Through, thanks. And Antonio Barnes, thank you. Antoine Barnes, sorry. Yeah, Bill Gates is in it, man. All them guys. They're all connected. Look, there's just too many coincidences. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. He didn't want to be in prison. Man, Epstein seems like the guy would be too much of a coward to end it, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know the guy. But he just seems that way. A little slimy little worm, like just too afraid to do it, do what needs to be done. But I think that there's too many coincidences with this. There's too much of a high profile guy. They're just going to leave out there and no cameras are working, not following the site department's protocol, not following their own protocol of checking in on inmates. I would like to know if anybody's in here this. I mean, if anybody serves, you're not at a level of Jeffrey Epstein that they would definitely check on. If any of you guys were incarcerated, let us know in the comments, how often would they not check? Or is it like they check all the time? Like they never let it go? Let us know in the comments. I'd be sure. Not in the live chat. Let us know in the comments. Anyhow, I do want to know all your thoughts on it. What's your speculation? We've got princes, prime ministers, foreign government leaders sleeping with people, right? And they're named. We've got the Clintons. We got all these people, Senate majority leaders. All these people are involved. Who would have benefited? And this is just from a logical sense. Who would have benefited the most from Epstein dying? It ain't Epstein, right? Epstein doesn't benefit the most. Other people. You not being on Earth anymore. I mean, even in prison with a bunch of money and being a high profile person, he's going to live like a king. I've talked to guys in prison that's been in prison before, and they say that if you have money, you can get whatever you want. You can live like a king in there, right? And he would do that. And like Epstein, what I read too is that he would be putting money on other guys' commissaries. So he already was paying for protection. Like he had dudes. You give somebody a honey bun in prison, from what I understand, they'll go kill for you, right? I mean, that's all you need to do is pay a dude a honey bun. He'll go kill somebody for you. So anyway, guys, before I forget, go grab a shirt and get a bivvy before Saturday. So today and tomorrow, last day is get a bivvy sack with shirt. No need for any code or anything. Comes automatically. Anyhow, guys, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. I want to know what you think about Epstein. And remember, stay frosty, stay strapped, and always stay dangerous. Take care.